Hi.
So, Jamara and I, we were assigned as peer mentor as a second year and peer mentee. I guess the program figures that second years know a lot that first years might want to know, but it turns out second years need a whole lot of help themselves, so it's really good to have a peer. With Jamara, there's been lots of peer advice, lots of peer after peer advice, lots of walks across campus, coordinated complaining, lots of times at the subway entrance, comforting. I needed that. Lots of encouragement in person, in text, with emojis, with smiles. It was, you got this, in this program, yes you can. So thank you for all that. As an artist, Jamara is not to be put in any one box or genre. She can combine pretty much anything, add her body, add her voice, and create performance. The 3 times she was bringing in work this semester, she brought first in a play, which ended up being a finalist for the Leslie Scalapino Award for innovative playwriting. And then she brought in a fierce piece of fiction, and then she brought in her amazing music. So there's everything. And she's also a professor, and I think today we might hear some essay excerpts. And because sometimes the official language just cannot be beat, here's this. Jamara Wakefield is a queer performance poet and professor. Her work is cross-genre, combining music, poetry, theater, and improvisation to create public performance. She is the new age protector of the Black radical tradition. Jamara Wakefield.
So this semester, in addition to being my first semester in an MFA program, it was also my first semester teaching as a professor, and I work at a community college in New Jersey. And so I spent much of my time this semester writing about my experience of being a professor and traveling to New Jersey and my students and working at a community college. And so what I'm reading today is a very small excerpt from kind of a larger series of essays about travel and about working out of state. So let's fix this. The Do Not Disturb option on the iPhone stops notifications, alerts, calls from making any noise, vibration, or lighting up the phone screen when the screen is locked. I imagine most people use this feature occasionally. I keep my phone on the Do Not Disturb setting all the time, to the chagrin of my family and friends. I keep it on Do Not Disturb because I do not want to be disturbed by the perpetual noise of electronic communication. Opting out of mobile declarations adds an ounce of quiet to my life. It saves my battery power on my longest 12, 13, 14-hour days. It gives me more focus. This cellular detail explains why the morning of the Hoboken crash, I was content and clueless and not panicked at all. That day, like every day, I travel from Brooklyn, New York to Paterson, New Jersey to teach at Passaic Community College. I take the F train at 15th Street, Prospect Park West, to West 4th Street, then take the E to Penn Station. Yes, I know I can take the F train to J Street Metro Tech, transferring to the AC directly to Penn Station. But the AC is the immersive theater experience I avoid at all costs. When I reach Penn Station, I catch any New Jersey Transit train one stop to the Frank R. Lautenberg Rail Station at Secaucus Junction, also plainly known as Secaucus. Then I take my main line train directly to Paterson, New Jersey. This is an intense schedule to keep for 15 weeks a semester on both sides of the desk as a graduate student and a professor. My weekday commute is like the 1981 arcade game Frogger. I am a tiny frog trying to get home, navigating trains, trucks, cars, buses, dune buggies, bulldozers, cyclists speeding across my path. Every stop in my commute is a tiny log that keeps me safe until it's time to jump again. And it's always time to jump again. And yet, my layovers in Secaucus Junction are the saving grace of my wayfaring. When I'm there, it feels like the universe has guided me with its original Atari joystick to an empty lily pad in the center of the Frogger screen. And then instantly the game pauses. And there is no fear of dying in this video game of my life. On the lily pad, there is no fear of being hit by a road vehicle or falling prey to an alligator's jaws in the river. Most importantly, there is no fear of running out of time, because time and space are altered, creating a spatial do not disturb as I wait for my next and final train in Secaucus Junction. I have permission to stop the action of my day when I'm in Secaucus. Unlike other New Jersey Transit rail stations, Secaucus Junction was specifically built as a transfer point. It is a space created to wait comfortably. There are benches on the upper level and lower concourse. There are heated waiting areas on the platforms. There is food. The bathrooms, immaculate. The concourse features a 75-foot high rotunda capped by a 50-foot wide skylight. I've watched my share of sunrises and sunsets through that skylight. Secaucus Junction is the cleanest station I've ever been to. Not only is it clean, it is quiet. Not only can you charge your cell phone at the charging station, you could pray there if you needed to. And I've needed to. It doesn't smell like urine or vomit or blood alcohol poisoning. Secaucus Junction is a neutral smelling space that suspends all the realities of urban living in New York and in New Jersey. Secaucus is my respite from the grit and grind that the New York City MTA transit system serves up by the millisecond. My layovers in Secaucus gives me a break from all the shitty parts of commuting that I secretly hate in the name of personal space and sensory overload and cognitive dissonance, but tolerate in the name of good faith liberal acceptance. My trips to Secaucus over time became my do not disturb button. When I arrived in Secaucus on the morning of the Hoboken crash, there were no immediate signs of calamity. It wasn't until the electronic arrival and departure board lost power that I sensed something was different. I sat and waited for the board to return. I reached for my phone. The only texts were from my mother. The first one read, "Please tell me you were not in the crash." Crash? What crash? I texted back. The crash happened at 8:45 a.m. My mother's text came at 8:50 a.m. This confirmed for me what I've always suspected, that my mother is faster than lightning. And on September 29th, she proved faster than the Associated Press. I checked my news apps and there was no crash being reported. But as soon as I refreshed the screen, there it was. Crash, Hoboken, repeatedly. I later found out she has a friend who works for the Amtrak who texted her about the accident shortly after it happened. The electronic panel returned announcing that all service to Hoboken is suspended. The Pascack Valley Line train number 1614 left the Spring Valley, New York station at 7:23 a.m. bound for Hoboken, its final stop after Secaucus. The train jumped the tracks and ended up on the platform, demolishing both the train and the platform canopy waiting area. On my train to Patterson that morning, the train ticket agents didn't announce the stops, or collect fares, or make eye contact. The accident caused one death and injured 114 other people. I imagine that these ticket agents, even more so than the passengers, were asking themselves, what if I was on that train? The deafening noiselessness on my train ride that morning became an uncomfortable stillness that hung in the serene air of every New Jersey Transit train ride thereafter. The quiet of the do not disturb had been disturbed by the laconic utterance of the Hoboken crash. In addition to the Hoboken crash, Secaucus is the place I sat the morning after the election, wondering how I would muster up the strength to teach. I've sat there with my students as I graded their papers. I've sat there with my classmates as I read their work for Wednesday Crit. Secaucus is where I was when I found out my mother fell again because of her brain tumor. It is the place where I read the email from my landlord stating that the rent was going up. And I remember looking up at that skylight thinking, maybe I should live here instead. I've taken naps on the bench in Secaucus. I was thankful to have a clean bathroom to use when my period was heavy on my way to work. And when I injured my knee, the junction is where I experienced the kindness of strangers who carried my bags to the elevator and helped me up the stairs. And sometimes I just sit there and do nothing until my train comes. I let my body rest. I relax my gaze. I clear my mind, and I breathe. This is my favorite thing to do in Secaucus Junction.